Hi everybody! Today we're going to be talking about the element chlorine.
What's so interesting about chlorine?
Well, Ryan, I'm so glad you asked. Did you know that chlorine is one of the most widely produced chemicals in the United States? Or that you probably come into contact with something that contains chlorine every day?
Really? Like what?
When the elements sodium and chlorine come together and react, they make table salt. Chlorine can also be used as a disinfectant in pools, as well as bleach to clean your clothes. Chlorine in its elemental state also forms a gas, which is toxic. There are two main forms of chlorine. Cl-, which is the anion and has very important uses, or the other form, Cl2, which is the gas form and can be very toxic.
Like onions have layers, atoms have shells of electrons. For atoms to be happy, they want a full outer shell of 8 electrons. That's the magic number. Some atoms, like sodium, only have 1 electron in their outer shell, while other atoms, like chlorine, have 7 electrons. They are unhappy to be this way. Sodium will give up one of its electrons, and chlorine will take that electron, making both of them happy. When sodium loses an electron, it has a positive charge, and when chlorine gains an electron, it has a negative charge. The positive and negative charges attract each other, just like the positive and negative ends of a magnet. This is how sodium and chlorine form a bond, an ionic bond. Sodium and chlorine are the atoms that come together to make salt.
Salt in the body is essential for all life. In water, salt dissolves into the ions sodium plus and chlorine minus. The chlorine ion is used in the human body for many things, such as keeping your cells filled with enough fluid. Chlorine maintains the concentration gradient, so there's a similar concentration of ions inside and outside of the cell, and equal amounts of water leaving and entering the cell at all times. If you are low on chlorine, all of the water would rush out of the cell, causing it to shrivel up.
This could cause some bad side effects, such as sweating, vomiting, or even kidney disease. Chlorine is also important in your stomach. H plus and Cl minus make up hydrochloric acid, which is a strong acid. This is important for digesting your foods, especially protein.
Like greasy burgers!
Exactly.
Even though HCl is strong and reactive, it is contained in the stomach. The lining of your stomach produces mucus in the form of bicarbonate, which is basic. This acid and base neutralize each other, producing carbon dioxide, water, and salt. The carbon dioxide can be released through burps. This is also how Tums work.
See all those people in that pool? Without chlorine and its ion form Cl-, it would be full of bacteria. Chlorine is an excellent disinfectant. In water, it reacts to form hypochloric acid, which has the capability to destroy bacteria by tearing holes in the fatty outer membrane, making them harmless to people. Chlorine is not harmful in a pool because it is present in such a low concentration. The pH is usually about 7.5, which is the same pH of tears. Fun fact, a solution of chlorine was used to disinfect people after coming into contact with Ebola patients.
But what about in its gas form? How does that hurt people?
As we talked about earlier, chlorine in its gas form is diatomic, meaning there are 2 chlorine atoms that are bound together. This is not an ionic bond like we talked about earlier with sodium and chlorine. It's a covalent bond, meaning that the electrons are shared, not taken.
Both chlorines have 7 electrons in their outer shell, and as discussed earlier, both want to have 8. When put together, 1 electron from each chlorine flows between the clouds of electrons, and these 2 electrons are shared between the atoms. This gives each atom an outer shell of 8 electrons, making both atoms happy. Isn't that cool? When chlorine gas is inhaled, it goes to your lungs where it reacts with the water in your cells to form high concentrations of corrosive hydrochloric acid and hypochlorous acid. Because your lungs don't have anything to protect it from these acids like your stomach does, it eats away at your lungs. Chlorine gas, as well as a similar compound with chlorine called mustard gas, were used in World War I as chemical weapons. Chlorine gas is heavier and more dense than air, so it'd settle into the trenches and kill those who weren't wearing gas masks.
Did you know the same effect can happen when you mix household bleach and Windex?
Chlorine gas is released when you mix these, which can cause major respiratory problems.
Chemistry is so fascinating in that one element can have 2 completely different properties.
I know, it's so cool, and I'm so glad you got me interested in chlorine, Alexa. I can't believe that the ion form is completely necessary to live, and it's safe. But yet the diatomic form in its gaseous state is toxic. I'm gonna have to go see what other elements are like this.